Hi everyone, this is Board Games and Bourbon and I'm Glenn Flaherty, and I want to talk about Street Masters, which is a new game by Blacklist Games. It is a game that plays like a 90s Nintendo brawler reincarnated as a school-age 3D diorama. It's an ode to the early 90s button mashers that urges you to win via chaining sweet combo attacks together into a finishing move, and that you will do throughout the game. At its heart, it's a simple tactical game. Beat the boss before the boss beats you. You will pull a card and play a card, and that is it. It also has a large bounty of scenarios to play through, and normally this much content requires a lot of particulars to make it tie together, but not here because everything is sort of a plug-and-play modular system. There's more variation of each other rather than something radically different. It's not so much expansions as it is just new scenarios. Functionally, you have to keep 4 areas distinct in order to maintain order in the game and make it run well. You're going to have a boss area for boss cards, a board area for the scenario, your personal area where you're playing cards, and then enemies that you draw and therefore are attached to you area that you must deal with personally. Each area will have its own deck of cards to be processed each round. On your turn, you will play 1 card from your hand, and this is where the fun lies. You're going to play cards to choose to run away from enemies or attack enemies, maybe get a combo along the way. Maybe you're not doing anything now, but you're plotting for the future. You might even be setting yourself up to do blocks, which will help supercharge you, and this gives you those super powerful attacks which you can unleash and ravish your enemies with. After that, you're going to process all the cards on the board and the enemy decks as are required, and this is essentially a cleanup phase and replenish phase. You're going to do this over and over until the end of the game, and the end of the game is usually you dying. The 2 variants you can play are arcade mode, which puts these Street Fighter inspired characters into a double dragon stage filled with loot drops and guest appearances by minions, or a story mode, which is more like the full video game experience where you get flavor text in between stages and slightly altered story arcs depending on how you did previously. And this is my favorite part of the game because it gives it longevity by keeping the gameplay purpose driven, and that was really important to me. With Aftershock, what I've heard is that you'll also be getting missions that are more or less like side quests. You're going to do them and you will reap the benefit of what you do later. So it's both more of the same content while making the in-game options of that scenario more robust. With 1 player, I found the game really hard to win, but the turns were fast, so if I chose to play it a second time in a row, it really would not be any issue. With 2 players, the action was more spread out, and the game overall felt more lively to me. This is my favorite player count. At 3, it made the enemies more manageable all over the board, but I felt like the turns were starting to get longer as everyone had to make their decisions. And at 4 count, I felt that the board was getting kind of cluttered, and definitely the turns were getting long unless you really knew what you're going to do. The good thing is that at the higher player counts, the cleanup phases felt less time significant by comparison to the lengths of the gameplay. Regardless, though, of the player count or the number of rounds it took to finish the game, it does stay on the fun side of a fine line that dances with being too repetitive. And this is really genre specific because if you like button bashers and Street Fighter, you know it's repetitive anyway. But luckily, the sheer amount of in-game variety is invigorating, and the variety comes in the form of the stages, the good guys you can play as, the bad guys you can play as, all the boxes you can mix together. There's seemingly always something new to explore or to tweak, even if you played the same scenario over and over, but you wanted to try a new way of achieving your victory. And I cannot see a time where you'll be without some new corner to explore in this universe. Ultimately, is a very solid game in a very specific genre that impressed me with how slick all the variables work together. The mechanics will fade into the background and you will focus on the oh no moments that are mixed together with moments of regret over past decisions. In a way, I could even say see real newbies who liked King of Tokyo enjoying this too. But as far as my scores, the art in the game is consistent and true to form, and it really invokes the nostalgia and the imagery that I associated with street fighting games of that era. For that, I give it a 9 out of 10. The card quality is great, the minis are plentiful and detailed, and the boards are dingy and dirty like an alley fight. And I found myself feeling like a spectator watching a Fight Club session. Again, I give that 9 out of 10. Rulebook is okay. But is not the best. And my feeling is that it made assumptions about what knowledge gamers bring to the board already. For instance, there's text on the cards that have a split line through it. And you're not necessarily told what that split line means. In some cases, it's like ongoing and current effects. Sometimes it's just further explanations. I found myself guessing occasionally what it meant, the text and the layout, and my guesses were right, but this is because I have prior experience. A newcomer, I feel, would be stymied. For that, I give the rulebook a 6 out of 10, but this will be overcome with experience and playing through. The ease of play, once you do overcome the rulebook, you're going to find that the gameplay is logical and comes at you fast. You'll get a sense of how to resolve any hiccups you encounter along the way, so I give it a solid 7 out of 10. Quality decisions. It is a tactical game. There's no grand strategy that I can see. You cannot predict what you will draw into your hand or what will come out of the stage or enemy decks, but you can maximize your tactics turn by turn with just a pinch of pre-planning by being aware of your surroundings minute by minute. The decisions then boil down to what is best for right now. It'll probably be 60% smart choices, 40% a risky choice, but that's where the fun is, and that is fun. I think it actually gives it more of an arcade feel that the game is trying to attain anyway, so a job well done. I give it a 7.5 out of 10 for that. Overall, I give it a 7.7 out of 10 on the BGG scale, somewhere between good and very good. I recommend it for those who love Marvel Legendary, Sentinels of the Multiverse, and even those who love a game called Fallen Land, which is, kind of apocalyptic. You're fighting, you're developing your characters, which in a sense, that's what these cards are. I even would recommend this as a jump off point for anyone looking to get into the genre, and like I said, King of Tokyo. Well, anyway, that is all for now, everyone. I want to thank you again for listening to my ramblings. I hope to see you soon, and I'll talk to you later. Bye.